Is Fiona Reynolds, and I run the Bereavement Room. I have a practice which is specializing in loss and bereavement counseling. And as part of that practice, I offer free talking spaces for persons who have been bereaved from any form of loss, really. And the Bereavement Room is one such space. Gained my loss and bereavement experience through volunteer work, as well as having been trained as a counseling psychologist. And in practice, I recognized where a lot of the mainstream agencies they were unable to cater, even if they were inclined to do so. They were unable to cater for the specific needs, the specific cultural recognition that a lot of bereavement in the Black community requires. And that's the reason why I set up my practice in the first place. I also wanted to have a dedicated space for grievers where, apart from needing therapy, which is not always the case, people could come and talk freely about their grief and be in shared company where they don't have to explain anything. It's just understood what it means to be grieving. A situation that really gets a lot of, doesn't have as much of a welcome in our Black community, unfortunately. My practice deals with everybody. Grief is for everybody. However, the bereavement room and throughout the pandemic, I noticed that there was a particular need for Black people to have their own space. So I geared the work within the bereavement room primarily for Black persons, male and female, I have to say. Really difficult to measure an outcome when it comes to grief, because grief is for life and grief comes in waves. So for many people, just having one visit to the bereavement room eases their burden for that moment, perhaps for a week, perhaps for a month. Sometimes they come back for a series of weeks, and sometimes one visit is enough. So it's really difficult to actually put it into any form, measurable form, the actual outcome of the persons who come in, but whether or not it's measured, just being able to talk and just knowing that there is somewhere you can go to without having to justify the reason why you need to go there, why you should be going there. I think that is a reflection in how people, not just the person, not just the griever, but people around that person benefit in an ability to engage better with their grief, which then eases them through the day, through their activities, in their communications and their interactions with people. So I would say the best way to measure outcome would be in the person himself, the fact that they feel better almost straight away. If I had a magic wand to heal the world, I would choose for people to release their tears, to allow themselves to cry. Tears are healing, tears are releasing, tears wash everything away. And everybody feels better after a good cry. It doesn't solve problems. It doesn't change anything, but it releases the person to acknowledge their emotions. And certainly in the work I do, where grief is concerned, grief is all about emotions. And if you hold yourself back from crying, that's the beginning of holding yourself back from engaging with the emotions that come with grief. My well-being SOS is, I know I'm really overloaded when I start getting more forgetful than I usually am. and I get very ratty. So I put on some music. Music is my go-to, and I take time out, just shut down completely, uh, become non-responsive, as in don't answer the phone, don't engage, become what people call antisocial. But it gives me time to refresh, to recover and replenish, and come back stronger. My favorite quote is from Maya Angelou, and I'm probably not giving you verbatim, but it says, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. And that means a lot to me because it has been a life lesson for me, for sure. But it also ties into my work quite a lot, and actually into another saying of Maya's. And that one is, no greater burden to bear than to have an untold story within you. So, what people perhaps in normal interactions don't recognize is how they are. It relates to whatever they're carrying deep inside of them. And that's their untold story. Very often, they may not even be aware. And the person that they are showing themselves to be to you comes from such a deep place that it has to be genuine, even if they're not recognizing it. But you have. So read it for what it is, take it as it is, and work with it in the way it presents itself. It's not always bad, but it does matter. It does make a difference. And it does help to know, for either party to know, that you can be with people wherever they are, meet them at that point, and just work with whatever you're presented with.